Good morning. Good morning, America. Congratulations with 248 years of independence. That's what we're celebrating today, right? If I read it correctly, I read it yesterday night, that it is 248 years ago that the United States became independent from Britain. And it's very important to celebrate this day, because on this day we also celebrate what you could say the American Revolution. Yeah, and the American Revolution is very different from the European Revolution. Yeah, the French Revolution, that is. Yeah, the French Revolution, in which the wording, the words they used at the French Revolution was fraternité, égalité, and liberté, and that means as much as fraternity, brotherhood, liberty, freedom actually, and then égalité, equality. But our American Revolution, which of course also deals with the civil war that has been going on here, was about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that has given rise to a completely different kind of government. You could say, simply stated, that the French Revolution, which kind of spread all over Europe, because in most European countries, I just read about this yesterday night and I found it fascinating because I didn't know this before. And I'm sure many other people do not know about this before as well. So that's why I'm saying it, because it is so important to recognize this on today, on Independence Day, because the European revolution, so to speak, was a socialistic revolution, which resulted in actually big government in many European countries, big bureaucratic governments, which presumably guaranteed the freedom of the people. However, that's where you get stuck with democracy and you could say the problems with the fact that majority decides, and that, for instance, as Jefferson has said, Thomas Jefferson, he said, democracy, he says, that is, so should we have democracy in which 51% may actually decide for 49% how it is going to be? Yeah, that's kind of what Thomas Jefferson said, in which he expresses his fear of that kind of tyranny. Yeah, the tyranny of the majority, what they were talking about back then. And so America, the revolution, the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, which is a founding document of our country, it calls for small government, but a lot of individual freedom. And so, in that sense, America's government and America's constitution is very, very different from European constitutions or European from European governments, because we do have these individual rights enshrined in our constitution in ways that they don't. And you see in Europe or in other Western European countries the tendency to big government, and ultimately also the whole the whole way in which countries have given up on their sovereignty in Europe, to be all part of this one big Europe, which is governed by bureaucrats from Brussels. It is just astonishing how they have succumbed, or in that sense, to this form of government, this big government. And the end is not yet in sight, of this big government move, because basically they want to create this whole one world kind of deal, and they don't want individuals to decide. No, they want big government to decide, and that's I believe the quintessential issue here today, that American government is, due to its checks and balances and all that, executive branch, legislative branch, and what's the other one again? I forget. Sorry, I'm not so well versed in my constitutional knowledge, but you get the picture, right? I am a lover of individualism, and my whole perspective on life is about the language which allows us to be an individual, and to abandon all the language that we keep being trapped by, because we keep being trapped by language which is the language of the group, which prevents us from being individuals. And so, for instance, I'm just giving an example. When governments decide, and they have done that, they're still doing that in the name of being so progressive, in the name of being so presumably forward, they are telling everybody that if somebody wants to be called they or her, we should call him her, or we should call him they, or her they. I don't know. To me, that's a complete. You could say it imposes on people, on me, on anybody, that I should speak a certain way. It's completely against the freedom of speech, and I should not be forced by anybody to speak in any way. I am completely against anybody who tells anybody how to speak. That what I call embodied language is the language in which I obviously listen to myself, and I talk about my own behavior, I talk about my own life, I talk about who I am. I'm not bothered with anybody. And everybody can have embodied language. Everybody can be their own individual with their embodied language. But we all unconsciously, habitually, because we were conditioned that way, we all engage in disembodied language, in which we do not listen to ourselves, and in which we basically already begin to force other people to listen to us, or in which we are basically forced to listen to others. And to me, that is completely against individualism. Individualism, freedom, cannot be about any kind of form of coercion, any kind of threat, any kind of negative consequence if you do not do as you are told. And besides, there is nobody who's telling you what to do. So nobody in embodied language tells somebody else what to do. And yes, good morning. We have yet to acquire embodied language. Oops, I do not need to wear these glasses. It's amazing that we are still living in a world where we have not acknowledged the difference between disembodied language and embodied language. And that just tells you right there that we are living unconsciously from our conditioning, in which we were conditioned to behave according to some group that we once belonged to, or that we had to belong to because we were born in it, we were raised in it. And it doesn't matter what it is, what group it is, whether it's our family, our country, our culture, our language, whether it's our religion, our social class that we seem to belong to, because we are, I don't know, if you're born in a very wealthy family, you live a different kind of life than when you're born poor. And so we belong all to groups. Maybe you have a family with many children, many siblings. Maybe you have no other sibling, and then you grow up. Good morning. You grow up very differently, because that will determine how you become who you are. I grew up in a family with 6 children, and I am the oldest son. I've got 2 younger brothers, 1 younger sister, and 2 older sisters. And that was a busy house in my parents' house. And hello. And it was always a lot of commotion. So much so that I felt already at a very young age, I already felt like a need. I didn't know that back then. I didn't have any clarity about it, but I always felt a need to be alone, to be left alone. And I'm glad that I am who I am because I'm now so happy. But in those days I was not very happy. I felt very imposed on, and I felt also conflicted by the fact that I was not agreeing with a lot of things, and therefore having conflicts with a lot of things. And all these conflicts, they have disappeared. I don't have these conflicts anymore. And so going back again to today, Independence Day. Today is Independence Day. I feel independent with my embodied language, and I decide for myself. I am my own best friend, and listening to me, I would like to let the listener know, anyone who has a anyone who's open to hearing about freedom must be interested in embodied language. If you are not interested in embodied language and yet you talk about freedom, you're just hiding. You're just hiding in vacuous language, in disembodied language, in which your language does not reflect your freedom, because disembodied language is not the language of freedom, obviously. It is the language of the group. And yes, anybody with disembodied language probably is fearful of embodied language, the embodied language which I express, because it completely, good morning, hi, because it completely debunks your falsehood of of saying with your forceful, domineering language, because you're always trying to domineer, you're always trying to force other people, you're always busy basically with other people. You're never busy with yourself in disembodied language. So you want to tell other people what to do. I, or anybody else for that matter, who has embodied language, is not busy telling other people what to do. I'm not telling you what to do. For all I care, you can do whatever the hell you want, but it still isn't embodied language if you do not listen to yourself. And I can still see or hear that you are engaging in disembodied language in which you are not in touch with yourself, in which you are not free, in which you just pretend to be free, in which you pretend to be, I don't know, saying something meaningful when in fact it is totally meaningless. And you pretend to be such an individual, but you're not an individual. You're continuously pandering to the approval from others. You're continuously virtue signaling to other people what a great person you are, what an important person you are, what a powerful person you are, all these kind of things. Why do you keep doing that? You keep doing that because you are not in touch with yourself. Here, this is what a person sounds like who is in touch with himself. And you could be that person, but you would have to listen to yourself, and you would have to face the challenge of acknowledging that in your usual way of talking, you're not listening to yourself. Yeah? And that way of talking in which you do not listen to yourself, that sets the stage for how you deal with language, with your language, and how you deal with any other behavior. It is your language which makes you do what you do. And if you would have embodied language, you would be doing many different things, because you would stop doing what you have been doing with your disembodied language. So yeah, that's a big undertaking, an undertaking from which people with disembodied language, even if they hear this, even if they maybe in some way agree with it, yeah, they're maybe in some way a little bit open to it, like, what is this guy talking about? Because I've been talking about this for a long time. I've been talking about this many years, yeah. And you know that this is true. And you know that you're not doing it. And you know that I am right. Not because I'm trying to convince you, but just because you've never talked with me. You've never honestly sat down with me and had the conversation in which you and I would both continue with our embodied language. You've never done that. You couldn't do that because you have never explored for yourself what it is like to speak with yourself and to listen to yourself. So yeah, there's reasons why it is the way it is. And I know these reasons because I've explored them myself. And I also have had, of course, my interactions with other people, due to which I've come to find out how it all hangs together, why it is the way it is. You are afraid of this. You are seeing my insistence on embodied language as a danger. Yeah, presumably, and perhaps from your point of view, with your disembodied language, it is understandable that you see this as a danger, because everything you believed in, everything you have been hanging on to, everything that you keep repeating, everything that supposedly is your identity, it just completely disappears when you begin to have embodied language. So yeah, that's why you are afraid. That's why you don't want to talk with me, because that is going to happen. And the strange thing is, it's not going to happen because you talk with me. It's going to happen because when you talk with me, you begin to listen to yourself. And yes, that is what embodied language is. In embodied language, we listen to ourselves. And yes, in embodied language, we let go of our beliefs. Who we are is not a belief. Yeah? And so independence, today we celebrate independence on the 4th of July. Independence is not about a belief in who you are. Yeah? Of course, you have the freedom to just be who you want to be and, I don't know, believe whatever you want to believe. But the fact that you hang on to these beliefs so strongly, it means that you are not who you are. I don't hang on to anything. I have no need to hang on to anything. Yeah, even the embodied language which I endorse, which I illustrate, which I let you listen to. Even though nobody except my wife is interested in it, or my wife of course lives with me, which doesn't mean that we are always sitting down and having long conversations, but she is the one who lives with me, who has been married with me for all these years, 38 years. And yes, she recognizes what this is like nobody else. And she has been wondering herself many times, like, why do you keep busy with these other people? And I have to admit, of course, I was busy with other people because I wanted them to know about this. And yes, I have come a long way in, you could say, weaning myself off this idea. that I no longer try to get people to do this. And in that sense, I'm just like everybody else. But I believe I have made great progress, because it is true that I do not do that anymore. Although sometimes I still try. It's just kind of like old habit or so. No, I make these videos and I write on my blog. Anybody can read it, anybody can listen to it, anybody can see it. Anybody can feel what it is, what I'm saying. And then you can perhaps decide, or I don't know, recognize that this is something you might want to explore. Because like I said, my idea, my opinion, or my perception with my ongoing embodied language, which by the way signifies my language enlightenment, my ongoing embodied language tells me that there's no freedom without embodied language. And so I continue with it because I enjoy my freedom. I enjoy America for its insistence on the freedom of the individual. That's why I'm a proud American. What you're seeing here is a free American who doesn't feel shy about stating his love of life, liberty, and who is with his language, which is kind of different than most other people. I pursue with my language my happiness. Oh, I just got to sniff my nose here for a second. Hold on. Sorry. Okay. Most people pursue their happiness in other ways. They pursue their happiness in all the ways in which they steer away. In which they steer away from their language. So for instance, people pursue their happiness with their so-called religion, their spirituality. But by being busy with all these esoteric fantasies, because that's what they are, by being busy with all your spiritual nonsense, or for that matter, political nonsense, philosophical nonsense, even scientific nonsense, because there's a lot of that out there. People are endlessly busy with so-called knowledge, which has nothing to do with self-knowledge. It couldn't have anything to do with self-knowledge because they're not busy with their own language. So As long as you do not pursue your happiness with your own language, which means as long as your language does not fit with your behavior, with your experience, yeah, how can you be happy? You cannot be happy. You are not happy. And even though, yeah, you keep, I don't know, pretending, keep hoping that one day you will be happy. You're doing all kinds of things in order to be happy, but you're not focusing on your language. And the reason you do not, this is an important part about real independence. You are not independent with your language. You do not have your own embodied language because you don't listen to the sound of your voice while you speak. So independence, as it applies to language, is only achieved when you can hear what you're saying. You've never done that. And so, yeah, you're totally dependent. You're always dependent on the approval of others and on, the validation of others. I don't crave your validation or approval. I don't crave your being a follower of me. I would love to see you or hear you have embodied language. I'd love to have that embodied language with you, but that's not having anything to do with you being a follower of me or you doing something which I tell you to do or which you, do because of me. You don't do this because of me. If you have embodied language, you do this because of yourself. And if you don't do it because of yourself, if you don't do this because of yourself, you're not having any embodied language. That's just how it is. So yeah, I do this because of myself. And I will continue. And yeah, to me it makes no difference. It makes no difference. Wow, what the fuck, man? I just saw a little sort of homeless camp, and it had a backpack and a sleeping bag and some other items. But I also saw a big, you could say a big cleaver, like something you use to cleave through sugar cane or something that you use to, maybe in farming or something. It looks kind of scary because I let out a little curse there and I said, fucking hell. I just look, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like there on that backpack, there was no person there, so I do not know where the person is who that belongs to. But that backpack had a big freaking cleaver hanging on it, with which you can chop off somebody's arm or something. I mean, that's creepy. That there's people walking around with stuff like that. Ugh. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I come across here when I ride my bicycle, and when I see what I see, yeah. And Gavin Newsom hasn't done anything in terms of solving the homeless crisis. Yeah, he may say that he owns it. No, he hasn't owned anything. He's just a big slime ball who is just a slick talker. Typical example of someone who has disembodied language, yeah? Giving you the runaround with words, never really saying anything meaningful, just only endlessly giving you, I don't know, some sort of a spin. He can never be truthful about anything. So that's kind of like where it's at, you know. We're all Joe Bidens, we're all Gavin Newsoms, we're all Nancy Pelosi's and Chuck Schumer's with our disembodied language. That's basically what it is. Because, make no mistake, it is the left wing, yeah, the Democrats, the people who are fighting to save democracy, presumably, who are actually most oppressive. Yeah, they want to tell you how to speak. They want to tell you how to be. They want to force you into whatever it is that they tell you to believe. It's just astonishing that we have come to this here in the United States. Yeah, it's not conservatives, it's not Republicans, it's not people on the right who are doing the canceling and who are doing the censoring. No, they are willing to have a debate, they're willing to interact. No, but it's people on the left who cowardly avoid any kind of interaction, who cowardly want to make it impossible even for anyone to have an opinion which is different from theirs. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable how incredibly oppressive they are, and how everyone is hiding in this group behavior, yeah, this mob mentality, which sort of just gives them permission, which sort of justifies their endless disembodied language, which is full of lies, full of manipulation, full of deceit, full of just fake nonsense. And here I am again, a proud a proud nationalist, because I am in favor of America. You know, in Holland, when I come from Holland, right, I immigrated to the United States in 1999. In Holland, I never had any real feeling about being Dutch. I never had, because I was born and raised there, you know. I never gave it any consideration that I didn't have any kind of didn't have any political perspective really, because yeah, I was just used to everything being the way it is in Holland. And it was only when I came to the United States, slowly but surely, that the way in which I was raised began to wear off, and when I began to recognize, like, yeah, I am actually more aligned with what I would say are conservatives than with liberals, so-called liberals. Anyways, it is, of course, anybody who has paid a little bit of attention to what I am talking about would agree with me that there is a connection between embodied language and freedom and independence and conservatism, constitutionalism, however you want to call it. And there is also, of course, a link between left-wing politics, which really forever wants to continue with disembodied language, the group behavior, which basically wants to oppress the individual. That is really what leftism, of their Marxism, socialism, whatever you want to call it. That's what that is all about. So this is my Independence Day video, and you're listening to a person who's very happy that he has come to America, where he became politically awake, and where he began to recognize, without any uncertainty, it is crystal clear that embodied language, the language which I have been speaking about for the last 45 years, that deals with being a Republican, being a conservative. And of course, people may say, oh yeah, there's a difference between being a conservative and being a Republican. And I'm sure there is. But you know what? I don't care. I consider myself a patriot. Yeah. I remember what a disappointment it actually was when because I got my citizenship in 2005. I may have said another time a different date, but I got it wrong. My wife corrected me the other day. But in any case, when I got my citizenship and I studied psychology, I was accruing clinical hours to get my degree, my PhD in psychology, and I was already on my way to accruing many clinical hours, and I was looking into where I was going to be doing my practicum or my internship, and actually I had wanted to work with veterans, with the VA, the veteran. Veteran Association, but they didn't want me. I was considered to be too old. It was really kind of like a slap in my face that I was being basically discriminated for my age, because they only wanted youngsters for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, I felt at that moment also a sense of wanting to do something for my country. Yeah, but they wouldn't let me. And okay, well, I ended up doing my practicum in community mental health, where I still actually occasionally dealt with veterans, but not not through the VA. But also on this Independence Day, I want to speak a little bit about that again. That I worked in this particular community mental health center, and there I experienced what it is like to be discriminated. As a white male, I was discriminated, and I was accused of something which I had not done, and it was kind of weird how that all went. That some person who was actually a person with mental health problems, who was apparently working for the center, who was doing some sort of work there. I didn't know that he was, I don't know, mentally ill or so, because I had seen him a couple of times, but I didn't pay attention because I was busy with my own stuff. But one day I had to take out, I had to warm up my lunch, and I was looking at the microwave in the kitchen, and there was food in the microwave, and I was looking for somebody to be around. I couldn't find anybody. There was nobody inside, and I just basically said, okay, well, I just wait a little bit until somebody comes. And so I waited a couple of minutes to see if somebody would show up, but nobody showed up, and then And then I said, well, you know, I cannot just keep waiting here. I took the box out of the microwave carefully. I even used a paper towel to take it out, and so I just put it next to the microwave. And then suddenly this man, he came to me, and he started screaming at me and cursing at me, and why did you take my food? You touched my food. And this, I said, dude, I didn't touch your food. I just took out the box. I took it out very carefully, and no, you took my food. Nobody touches my food. I said, just calm down. Nothing happened. He just blew up. He immediately walked away, went to my supervisor, told her apparently something. My supervisor came to the kitchen where I was eating my lunch, because I had warmed up my own lunch. My supervisor and somebody else, 3 people came to talk with me about what had happened. I said, nothing happened. I just warmed up my food. And sorry, I took his food out, but there was nobody inside. So anyway, I was accused immediately of having been insensitive towards him. And I was accused immediately that I was arguing with him, because I tried to let him know, like, no man, there's nothing wrong. Don't worry, I didn't touch your food. But I felt, of course, also accused by him. So I was trying to sort of just let him know, like, no, it's all right. I didn't touch anything. Anyway, they were immediately on his side, and they were accusing me of being culturally insensitive. I said, what are you talking about, culturally insensitive? I wasn't even aware of this whole issue of equity and all this stuff. I wasn't aware of how everybody is pandering towards that, diversity and equity and inclusion. In any case, I wasn't aware that this guy was what they call a consumer, that he was actually a mental health client who was doing work there. Don't you know that he's a consumer? I said, I do not know even what is a consumer. Well, a consumer is someone who is doing... I said, oh no, well, nobody ever told me this, but then again, I just didn't do anything wrong. Anyway, I was accused. I tried to sort of defend myself and say, like, well, no, nothing happened. But I was again, and the more I tried to sort of just say, like, wait, what the hell is happening here? I'm being accused of something which I haven't done. Nothing has happened. Well, guess what? The message was sent to my school, the Palo Alto University, and I was taken out of this practicum. I was, instantly taken away from there, told that I was never to return to get my stuff, and I was walked out of there by security. Isn't that something? Yeah. Total humiliation, which destroyed my practicum there. And then I had to appear in front of a commission at Palo Alto University. And it's just disgusting. And I felt so totally humiliated and so totally betrayed. And I said to them, well, then I was forced by this committee. Yeah, and I was, of course, in the process of getting my PhD. I was forced by this committee to take classes in anger management, or to take extra therapy because I had an anger issue. And why? It is because I was defending myself, because I was speaking up for myself, because I said, no, this man happened to be a Chinese man, by the way. And my wife is Chinese. So what are you talking about? That I am discriminating this guy? I mean, all my in-laws are Chinese. Anyways, I was forced to go through therapy, and I had to pay this therapy myself. And I had to atone for my sins or something which I had not committed. And it just felt like a total humiliation. So then I had to reappear for this committee, and I had to redo my practicum, and it was just pure horror. The whole practicum, all the clinical hours that I had accrued were not counting or something, and it was like a total nightmare. And then then I just at that point I just said, well, no, I am not going to do this. I withdraw from this institution, and that's when I took my leave from Palo Alto University. I said, well, go fuck yourself, you assholes. I don't have an anger issue. You have an issue with falsely accusing a person for something that he hasn't done. All my results with all my clients were always very good. Everybody was always very happy with me. And that was the end of my graduate study. And that is when I left Palo Alto University and came back to Chico, where I'm now and where I taught psychology for many years, and where even after withdrawing from that, because I withdrew from my psychology teaching happily, because of course also at the school where I was, Butte College, it was a terrible you could say climate of activism, and everybody was into diversity, equity and inclusion, and it was just a matter of time before they were going to come after me again. And I said to myself at some point, that was during the COVID, I believe in the second year of COVID, I said to myself, well, before that happens, I'm just gonna take my leave from there myself. And that's where I said, okay, the hell with you guys. I'm not into this Marxist bullshit, yeah. And once again, I want to make it very clear on this Independence Day that I, as a newcomer here in the United States, I went through a whole development of becoming politically aware, where I began to recognize that my way of life fits with people who are right-wing, the right-wing extremists, as Biden calls them. We're continuously insulted, continuously humiliated by all the left-wing people, and we're supposed to take that. We're supposed to just be okay with that. No, I'm not okay with that. I hate all these people who are so hateful. I'm not hateful, of course, but I hate them because I just want to let them know that they can all just go to hell with their stupid disembodied language. I'm a free individual. I embrace my own life. I am the one in charge of my own life. That's what freedom is about. I'm responsible. I'm accountable. You can talk with me about this. I don't have any belief in any imaginary higher power. I am my own power. I'm an individual. I have individual language, which is called embodied language. And I have put my history of conditioning with disembodied language, I've put that behind me. So happy Independence Day, everybody. I am proud to share this with you, and I hope, even though I of course cannot tell anybody to do this, I hope that everybody who hears this is willing to experiment with listening to yourself while you speak, and then you will discover your own embodied language, and you will discover how different it is from your disembodied language in which you do not listen to yourself. It is going to be clear when you face the challenge of being a free individual. And if you are too scared for that, you are not really an American, in my opinion. All right, happy Independence Day.